Hello. Welcome to another episode here of Developer Stream with World of Tanks. How are you doing, Mr. Bam?
Wonderful. Glad to see your shining face on stream with me again. We missed you last week.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully it doesn't decide to freeze on me because
Technology,
it's been a little iffy, but we're here today. But we're here to talk about tanks. So let's go ahead and jump straight into what we have in store for our players this week.
Yeah. Exciting stream today. A lot of interesting events going on, recent releases. We will have some data to show you guys as well on stream today. I know we've been kind of slacking on the job a bit to kind of showcase a little bit of our own data findings and presenting this to you, the players, a little bit, because that is part of one of the reasons we do the development stream, and myself representing design team, trying to come on and help you, give you guys a little bit of insight on our direction and have some imagery data sets to show you guys on where we are going with things. We will get to that point. We are currently halfway through the month of July, giving us only a few more weeks left on the War Heroes season before we move into a brand new season. Too soon to talk about that just yet, of course. We will be just discussing more War Heroes content this past week, especially. Hopefully you guys, especially you Cold War fans out there, had a chance to check out our new tech tree release line for the French Cold War tanks. Just coming out, including the Lorraine 40 tons, the Bat Chat, all the AMXs, including the Brennus, one of my favorites, and all the way up to the fan favorite, the Leclerc. A bit of a grind, yes. I know players have a little bit of a back and forth debate on the usage of heat rounds going through the Era 1 and Era 2 tanks of the French Cold War line. But I think Ricky Tikitave can say it much better than myself. He did release a video this past week, if you guys haven't checked it out already, covering a bit of a review of the tech tree line and the Fraternité. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Leclerc, covering a review of the Leclerc tank, the final tank of the Era 3 French Cold War line there. Very rewarding experience. If you can just get yourselves through the usage of all the heat, it becomes very gratifying once you earn yourselves and unlock the Leclerc into your collection. So again, that came out just this past week. Hopefully you guys are enjoying just brand new tanks and seeing some diversity out there on the battlefield itself, and giving these tanks a try out on the battlefield. And then up next, of course, sitting right here behind me, we also have a World War II offering, the Char Emily 75 Fraternité. This is our brand new Tier 9 light tank, coming with great mobility, 2 drive modes very similar to our wheeled vehicles, coming with the standard and turbo, capable of reaching upwards of 75 kilometers per hour. As you can see here on the image, comes accompanied with a French-inspired paint job design, right in time for Bastille Day, and perfect for those who wish to show a little bit more of some national pride. This also comes equipped with its 6-round auto reloaders, perfect for picking off a few vehicles if you guys prefer the more aggressive light tanking play style, and pairs very well with mobility and performing a lot of circle strafe maneuvers. And also should go without saying, we did also include a second gun option for you to choose from in its loadout, to include a burst fire gun. This gun has a 2-3 round burst before you have to even reload, so you'll want to make sure you keep your gun on fixated on your target to land all 3 rounds of its burst, just to make the most DPM out of that gun option.
I like the little rooster on the side of the Leclerc. I know we've featured it on other French tanks as well.
Giving it a little bit more of that French flair, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
But back on the subject of the Fraternité, we do giveaways on this stream. Right off the bat, Tankz0rz, can we start a giveaway here? I already see someone putting in their little giveaway tag, but I think we handle things a little bit different now, don't we?
We have people already beating us to the punch here. They're already on our giveaway here. Yeah, so go ahead and click on that link and give us your Wargaming ID, and you'll be entered for all of our giveaways for today.
Yes. And in just a little bit, we'll announce our giveaway winner just after we go through a few more updates. Okay, so some weekend events. Let's start and talk about what happened last weekend. We had our first debut of the Control game mode beta. Hopefully you guys had a chance to check it out. Last weekend was specific to showcase Control mode only for World War II, Tier 8s, and no artillery. With only 4 maps in the rotation, for this time being, we only had Himmelsdorf, Overlord, not Ghost Town. I'm blanking here. Mines, and I'm blanking on the 4th one here. Help me out here, Tankz0rz. I'm thinking about this weekend because we do shake it up a little bit. There was 4 maps in any case. But yeah, hopefully you guys had a chance to check it out over the last weekend. We are digging into a lot of feedback, digging into the Discord, socials, trying to see what players think about it. As we are, in fact, running these as beta tests, there are some known issues. We'll cover that a little bit as well. We have heard it from the players too. And Grausch in the chat, how did the data turn out for Control mode? That is what we are here to talk about in our next segment here. So yeah, let's cover and talk a little bit about our findings and some of the data that we got covered from last weekend. Last weekend in total, you guys participated in a total of 3,861 total battles, with a peak of battles happening on Saturday. Saturday is always the most popular day for tanking, with a total of 1,516 total battles just on Saturday. And then up next, and we have an asset to show here for you guys, a little bit of the map stats data here. Tankz0rz, if we can show off that Control mode versus the random battle data. Thank you, Max Chaos. It was Airfield was the 4th map. Completely blanking here.
One moment, please.
Okay. While he's getting that up, I'll talk about a few other data points that I just... Oh, no, here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and cover some of the data on this spreadsheet. Well, not a spreadsheet. This data here. Okay, so what we are looking at is a comparison of all 4 maps that we had in Control mode last weekend, comparing those exact same maps as they would perform in our random battle PvP, strictly for all Tier 8s. And as you can see in the battle mode, we had roughly about 900, almost 1,000 battles to each of the maps, roughly about 300 battles per map per day. And if we jump over to the 3rd column here, we're going to skip over draws because, hey, there was actually no draws that occurred over the Control mode, so that was kind of interesting. But let's take a look at the average number of kills, that is, destroying your tanks. This is actually very on par, and this was a design goal to make this still feel fairly close to the tanking experience you guys would come to expect in random battle. We wanted to make sure the matches weren't too much and players were really cranking up to like more than 15 and even 20 just kills in a single match. There is potential for that, but we wanted to keep the gameplay tight and focused and somewhat aligned with that of the maps as they appear in random battle. So roughly between 10 and 13, as you can see. The 13 kills, of course, is on Himmelsdorf. If you guys recall, our Himmelsdorf map in Control mode had just a single capture point. So this is no surprise that we are seeing more tank destruction on that map in particular, because the focus and contention of that map itself was all just congregated into a single kind of grid area. Let's skip on over to the average damage given per battle. This is also not a surprise. This is naturally going to be a lot higher in this game mode for players being able to deal more damage in Control mode versus compared to what you can see in random battle. Random battle is roughly between 13k average damage across those maps. And one other tidbit I'll make mention here. This is across the full spectrum of all Tier 8 tanks. This isn't fixating on a certain class, and this also takes into account all cohorts of players that have played thousands of battles to those that might be even very new to the game. We are still collecting and analyzing some more data on, how are some of our higher skilled players, the more experienced ones into the game, what is their average number of tank destruction and average damage. Those will be things that we take into consideration as well. But I just want to make it clear, we are kind of looking at the full spectrum set of averages when we're taking a look at these bar and data graphs right here. So distance traveled, nothing really important to talk about on that front. It's how many meters are players traveling on average in these matches themselves. Nothing really actionable on that front. But here's an important one. Average match time in minutes. This was another goal on us in development, that we wanted to make sure the game mode itself felt fairly on par to the expectations of when you guys jump into standard battle in tier 8 matches. As you can see on the bottom, the pink bars, on average, it's about 6 minutes for those same set of maps. And control mode is relatively also 6 minutes, with airfield being an exception at 7 minutes. We were aiming to get our control mode time averages between 5 and 7 minutes. So internally, we have achieved that goal. And I know there has been some feedback, both from our super test group, of course, and a lot of players, in terms of, they would love if the matches were a little bit longer. I'll touch upon that, because we do have some player feedback points that we would also like to share and discuss with you guys. So I'll kind of circle back onto that front. And then other notes here, these aren't actionable items by any means, but if it's interesting to the players, we do have data shown here for the average number of capture points as well as defend points when capturing a base. This is also naturally going to be a lot higher than that of random battle, for the obvious reason that this is a mode that's all about focus on base control and base capturing. And of course, respawn plays a lot into that as well. So, other bits of data I can share with you guys. I know we are showing here the average damage given per battle, and that's on a per map basis, kind of collecting that all together. For control mode, the average number of damage per player across all tier 8 tanks is about 2,731 damage. Compare that in tier 8's random battle, that's about 1,100 damage. Again, not a surprise. We expected damage to be a lot higher in this mode. Nothing actionable, of course, on that. This is just informative data for us as we continue to think how we pursue going forward. Average silver that you would earn. And I do apologize. This isn't information that we have a graph to share. I am just reading this off of the notes that I have taken. But average silver that was earned in control mode was roughly 64,000. Compare that to random battle, about 65,000. Again, I want to stress this is an average that includes both inexperienced, maybe newer players with lesser battles, as well as veteran, very experienced players with a large sum of battles as well. So we need to do a deeper analysis and see, how much silver are players actually getting out of the match that are very highly skilled and able to deal very high amounts of damage. And that also correlates to average XP earnings. In control mode, on average, players were earning about 1,600 XP on average. Compare that to random battle, that's about 1,900 XP on average. So yes, a little bit, both silver and XP is expected to be a little bit lower than that of the random battle counterpart. And that was actually another feedback point that players had pointed out, is more incentive. They want more earnings, of course, in this the control game mode. So we have taken that feedback into consideration and have noted it as we kind of move this along into the future. And I'll cover a little bit more on that too as we get into player feedback notes. One other thing I want to make mention: what was the most popular, most used tank in control mode over last weekend? Tankz0rz, we have one other data set to share with the players here, if we can put that up on screen.
We're looking at what are we looking for here?
Let's see. This was. I'm also trying to recall what we labeled it for you, because I know you're sitting on a lot of images that I sent you very last minute. That's my fault, guys. That's my fault.
You said daily tank stats?
The daily tank stats battles, yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and pull that up for you here.
There we go. So we are looking at the absolute totals of all the. This is only the top, I think this is 10 tanks that we have on display here. These are the tanks that played the most battles over last weekend. And our winner here is the Tiger 2 heavy tank, closely followed by the T41E1, of course. Worth mentioning here, I know the names, they might be a little bit different than what you guys are used to. These are, of course, our internal dev side name terms that we have set for these tanks themselves. But it should otherwise be fairly straightforward to what tanks you are looking at here. But Tiger 2 is our winner. It was interesting. We watched a lot of streams, got a lot of feedback, and follow-up YouTube videos that are not only did our community contributors publish onto like YouTube, etc. We saw a lot of other users in their gameplay last week, and a lot of players suggesting that, man, these light tanks are going to be the biggest problem in control mode because they're quick, can get to these points very quickly, maybe escape and get to another one. But I thought it was very interesting that a heavy tank took the top spot for most played tank there. So still fascinating. Again, nothing really actionable, just a fun kind of interesting data point on that front. Let's talk about player feedback. And I also want to stress, hit us up in the chat, in our socials, on Discord. Let us know what you guys think about the control game mode last weekend with World War II mode, if you had a chance to engage with it. Always taking in more feedback and criticism on it, because this is very much, and I will continue to stress this, a beta test for something that we will continue to run into more live events in the very near future, next season and in upcoming seasons later to come. But let's talk about a few points that I will address on player feedback from last weekend. I talked a little bit about the earnings, XP and silver, and yes, we have seen that players would love to be have more incentive to join this event game mode if they were to earn a bit more XP and a bit more silver. I want to tell you guys right now on design side, it was our intent to make sure the earnings were at a lower bar because internally, we saw that we were getting kind of inching closer and closer to the averages that random battle XP and silver offer. But it's hard to gauge in our smaller control tests that we do internally to determine if there's opportunity to really maximize and farm that currency. And so we didn't want to make this something that would be. We wanted players to come to the mode to have fun, right? And we wanted to be careful that this mode wouldn't over-earn because we know there is potential to deal a lot of damage and for even the average player to get a lot of additional tank destruction. Tank destroys and damage directly equals more silver, more XP. So it was a very careful balancing act for us to really kind of get that earning. And shout out here, I see WG and Guida here. This is our lead systems designer who helped kind of tune and work with all of us on the actual economy model for control mode. That being said, we do hear the feedback. We do know there is extra feedback from the players that would love to see more incentive. We are taking that feedback in, and next time that we run this mode, probably next season, there will be some tuning adjustments likely to the earnings. Let's see, other feedback. Players wondering, when is this coming to like normal random rotation, or is it going to become a permanent thing? More news on that to kind of come. This is very much aimed as in a limited time event mode, and that's kind of where we are going to pursue this in months to come. Who knows what the future holds? This is very much a beta test, and we want to gauge the interest of the players if this is something that may or may not become a more permanent fixture into World of Tanks Modern Armor. We shall see. We can't commit to that decision at this time. Other feedback, match time increase. We know, players felt like the mode itself did end pretty quickly. let's be honest with ourselves. In random battle, we also know there's a set of blowout matches that very well could end within 2 to 3 minutes. It happens sometimes. Either teams get kind of steamrolled or bases get captured a little bit too quickly. The same thing can very well happen in control game mode as well. There might be a subset of matches that do end within 3 to 4 minutes, maybe even less. But as I pointed out in the data earlier, on average, we were hitting our goal of 6 to 7 minutes. That's not to say we won't reconsider trying to do something of increasing the match time. Maybe it's a matter of increasing the total number of points needed to win the match. Maybe it's a matter of reducing the amount of points that you get for destroying target tanks. That is something that we will kind of go to the drawing board and figure out a little bit. It's all a tuning process, a whole balancing act, but just know that it is things that we are constantly thinking about. Lastly, there was many other things that were pretty common in player feedback, but I'll also point out we know there's been requests that you guys wish that this control game mode would also support completion and progress on season challenges as well as contracts. We do hear you guys. Again, because this is a game mode with opportunity for players to get a lot of additional tank kills, deal a lot of damage. A lot of our events for the challenges don't take this mode into account for that. So that would have been an easy farmable outlet for a lot of players that would have made it probably too easy to complete a series of challenges. So we understand that players might want that in the future, and we are thinking about that, and we'll work with our events teams on potentially including challenges more into the future. And then, again, I'm going to stress this many more times. This is a beta test, and yes, we encountered issues with the game mode that we are aware of and are actively trying to improve upon. This is why we run it as a beta and not just push it as a full thing that you would see permanently. One of the biggest things is the garage filters not working. We understand this could be a frustrating experience when there's a particular tank you're trying to find in your tank reel, and some of you have, dozens to like 100 tanks, that it could be very difficult. Because of this new initiative with the event battles and control mode, filters was a very difficult thing for us to get pushed in for the War Hero seasons in time. So we know that's one that we will be prioritizing in the very near interim. Respawn has a number of issues as well. Respawn is not a thing that we have in a lot of our game in the past. We had that in, like, say, Toy Tank mode, Halloween mode, and I think even our Lunar Combat mode. But ultimately, those have been in a very specific to a single tank and a very subset of certain conditions that those respawns were in a much more polished experience. With all these extra rule sets that we have in control mode, it was hard to catch all the potential issues that might come up with respawn in control, but we are aware that there are issues with it, such as targeted and the Sixth Sense alerts are not going off on respawn. The Commander VO audio is not working after respawn. And most comical here, wheeled vehicles would come out and respawn with their wheels all flat. Just note that functionality of your tires were working just fine, but yes, visually and audibly, they did sound like they were just all flat. So that was kind of a find.
I think as long as our players weren't transforming into tables, we'll be fine. Remember the Commander table?
Yeah, shout out to, God, like 3-4 years ago when we had the old Commander mode. Some player found some exploit in the game, was able to drive around with an actual table and the Commander in there. That is so comical. I might have to find where that footage exists.
Yeah, so we didn't get that luckily, so we're pretty good.
Okay, so I just covered all the data findings and kind of what we had going on from the control playtest last week. As announced last week as well, we also have control mode going on, started this morning, specific for Cold War Era 2. Now, one thing I will address, because yes, and thank you to the players, there was an issue covered this morning. This was our first beta test launching Cold War mode, and For those of you that got a chance to jump in early this morning, or if you're over in the Eastern time frames as well, you probably had a chance to check it out in the afternoon. There was an issue discovered with the earnings, and this got alerted to the teams immediately, and we made this a very high pry. We do apologize that this had happened, and we know that there were still resupply and repair costs incurred onto your tanks in these battles, and you weren't actually earning any silver or XP. That was not intentional to go live, and we have since addressed and fixed that issue. We have run a server restart a few hours ago. So if you guys hop in, please encourage you, check out Cold War Control Mode Beta. It is live. You will be earning your silver and XP now. Shout out, actually, Dave GM. I see you in the chat there. We did get your specific notice that you were one of the early adopters to the Cold War control mode that let us know about the issue this morning. So thank you, Dave GM, on that front. But yes, please try it out. Again, we are looking for more feedback. This is going to be the first run of control mode on Cold War. And I should also stress, this will be the last control mode test that we run during the War Heroes season. So if you missed out last week or just have a little bit of time and don't want to know when you'll have another opportunity, please check it out this weekend. We won't have another beta test for control mode until next season at some given time. In any case, going over a little bit of the criteria and differences that you can expect for this weekend. As I mentioned, it's Cold War mode, Era 2 tanks only. This will include lights, mediums, and heavies only, no tank destroyers. All nations will be allowed. This time for maps, once again, we will have Overlord as well as Himmelsdorf, two same returning maps from last weekend. And then we also threw into the mix Ghost Town and Heilbronn. Each of these maps also kind of just offer not only their own, layout changes in terms of the terrain and the gameplay opportunity layout, but also differences in Himmelsdorf has the single base contention points. Ghost Town has kind of a asymmetrical layout of the bases. And Heilbronn is our first very large map in which the bases are fairly spaced out. Very interested to see the data on how that one comes out as well. And yes, that's a wrap of everything I have and updates on our control mode. Again, I stress it. Please check it out, guys. Looking for more feedback. We will probably share more data and findings next week on everything control mode, Cold War mode. But hopefully you guys have a blast with it.
Sounds good. Look forward to seeing some more stuff next week.
Yep. Okay. We're not done with the event battles, and we're not just ready to talk about next week's stuff. Like I said, we had a lot of interesting data findings and things to share with you, the community. Up next, last month, we had an event battle for the community map. This also ran over just a single weekend period time frame, mid-June. The community map, for those that might not be aware, this was an initiative that we started back in November, where we asked the players, what is the next kind of map that we can help develop and get player feedback and kind of collaboratively work with the player base to develop a map that we would eventually deliver into the map rotation of the game. Dubbed right now the community map. We've had it only hosted in custom games for several months now. But in June last month, this was the first time we were able to host the community map in a 7v7 format as a limited run in event battles. Hopefully you had a chance to check it out. This was something that we were trying to do much earlier on, but had a lot of matchmaker considerations as well as player population to make sure that we can fulfill these matches and make sure they're filled more with players and maybe not so much always with bots, and also making sure we're not cannibalizing the number of players also engaging with normal random battle. So in any case, the community map went live as an events battle. It was encounter mode only, 7v7. I believe it was tier 6, if I do recall. We wanted to make it relatively accessible for new players. So it's maybe, they may not have the higher tier tanks, but at least we can assume they have some of the mid-range tanks. Oh, and we do have some data to show on this one as well. Tankz0rz, feel free to throw up some heat maps on this one. I know I gave you 2 images here. Here we go. So up first here, we are looking at the positional heat map data. That is, this is where both Team 1 and Team 2, one team spawns on the southwest corner and the other team's on the southeast corner here. You can see those very green, yellow, red hotspots. Those, of course, is where the teams are spawning. And what we are looking at here is generally where are all the players kind of gravitating toward through the map itself. The other hotspot you can see here is a little bit further up north in the middle there, kind of that cluster of rocks in the middle, indicated by a lot of those kind of black spots and obulus shapes there. That, of course, is where the encounter base was at, so it's no surprise that that's where a lot of players gravitated toward. But this is just interesting findings that we're taking a look at to see where players are going on this sort of game mode, and making sure there's a fair distribution of where players are ending up at. Let's see. Let's showcase the next image as well. We have a vector victim to target tank heat map here. Sorry. What we're looking at here, once again, Team 1 is on the left here. This is the team that spawns in the southwest corner. Image on the right is the team that spawns in the southeast corner. Where the green dot origin begins, that is where a tanker is at, where they successfully shot and destroyed an enemy tank at the red dot destination. And that vector line that you see is just where that shell trajectory had gone from. So this is always very important for the level designers to take a look at and indicate, is there any strong vantage points that one team may have over the other? Is there too much vantage point that one team may have versus the other? And is there other areas where we want to be able to see a little bit more contention or good vantage points that we aren't put into consideration? So just a little bit of data for you guys to share, because I know this is something we haven't showcased on the stream for quite a while here. And the community map, we haven't had a chance to catch up and talk about it with, Tank Fest was going on, a lot of other content offerings and big updates that have been coming during the War Hero season. Catching up on a lot of things going on here. But yes, so last few notes on the community map. The win rate over the weekend was roughly a 51% in favor of the West team. So that will be something the level design team will take a look at a little bit more constructively. The map is otherwise making its way over to our art department to start utilizing final assets, start populating those, pulling out those more colorful Lego block bricks that are in the map itself, and actually giving you guys a better polished final experience to the map. And design will continue to do small iterative gameplay updates on the map itself as well. So all that being said, the map will be coming out of custom games pretty soon. Check it out if you guys haven't done so already, or if you want one last hurrah to see it before we debut it later on this year. We're hoping to get it out later this year. Can't commit to a date at this time, but the aim is sometime later this year, the community map will make it into a full map rotation. So, and then lastly, I need to work with our publishing and community team. We do need to get a survey going out for you guys. As this being a community map, we do want to work and pitch ideas to the player base for what will this map be called? What will it be named in the map rotation, etc. No, do not submit Mappy McMap face. That will not be a thing. But we are still up in the air for a proper map name. I think us on the development side, we'll kind of pitch you guys some names. We'll take some ideas from the players as well, and probably have a big multiple choice survey, perhaps. Dave Land. Dave GM wants Dave Land. Okay.
What about he stole my joke. I was going to say Bam Land.
I'm not taking credit for it. No Bam Land. Block City says Max Chaos. Block City's appropriate now, but when you guys see the final result, it will not be that. Right, KB, no McMap face. Also, actually, if we had a collab with Lego, that would be fantastic.
So that's great. I think we have a giveaway cooking here, don't we?
We do. Okay, we covered a lot as well. Who is our first lucky winner receiving the Fraternity?
Our lucky winner is Sinister Ways. Congratulations,
No!
Sinister Ways.
Congratulations, Sinister Ways. You got me excited, Tankz0rz. I thought this was Sinister 1.
Nope, it's the other one.
We have so many Sinisters out there, don't we?
Yeah. And go ahead and drop your name in chat. Congratulations, you're getting the Fraternity. And
you fooled me, Tankz0rz.
yeah, I figured.
Sinister One's in the chat. Foiled again. Tankz0rz, I swear this is rigged. Like, you have like a data tag in there that says do never it's Sinister One.
Listen, maybe he's not even entering. I don't know. I mean, I could download all the entries to see if he's actually entering, but one day, Sinister One day. Don't worry.
One day.
All right, so that brings us up to next week. What is going on World of Tanks next week, Mr. Bam?
All right. So next week, on tracks, we have another on track coming along. The star of this week will be the K91 Soviet Medium. So if that's a tank you guys have been working your way or need to progress, now is the time for a little bit of a discount on the purchase of the tank line itself, as well as just some increased earns toward those tanks as well. Contracts, we have the return of the Roundabout contract. Again, if that's another one lacking from your collection, or if you are currently pending on which next contract do you want to sign up for, Roundabout is coming next week. Then I know players have been asking about this. Trade-ins, another trade-in is coming up. There will be an article that will be posted after the stream today. Of course, you can trade in tanks to get a brand new tank from the likes of the T-77, the Diamondback, that's actually one of my favorites, the Lancen C, Skoda T-56, the Turtle, or the Type 59D, and much more. Again, that full comprehensive list will be provided in the article after the stream.
The Alpine Tiger WZ111.
I did miss out on that one. Is that one of your faves?
Yeah, I like it.
The Alpine Tiger.
It's a fancy one.
Okay. And then, believe it or not, we are approaching the 25-year anniversary of wargaming. 25 years. And we're going to be kicking off the party, as well as in the trade-ins that we just announced. You can also look forward to, starting next week, 50% off of cosmetics like emblems, inscriptions, flags, and camouflages. And select bundles for XP, Commander XP, and Silver boosters will be returning to the store. Be sure to stock up on those. If anyone's lacking on select consumables, those will also be available in the store. And 2 tank bundles, including the Gap Defenders, which has the Leopard VT2 and the M60A1 Rise from the Cold War. And then also the Aggressive expansion, which includes the T-72 M1 and Object 934. And that is a wrap on our content for next week. Let's shift on over our usual segment for our battle feats here. And as always, the users that we make these amazing feats and call-outs here, you guys will be credited confidential keycards to your accounts. So up first, in the brand new release of the AAT-60 tank that came out just a little over a week ago, we have He Mopoku OK, max combined assisted damage in a single battle of 8,226. Up next, Xbox One 5735. I imagine this must be an Xbox player. With max blocked damage in a single battle of 8,070. And then Kellen, who this is in a single battle, got the most kills of 11, as well as most damage, 10,761, as well as most base XP, almost cresting that 3,000 XP mark, but sitting at 2,922. Fantastic. Congratulations. Medal showcase. We got a few winners here as well, and showcasing 4 different medals here, and also the highly familiar. These medals are earned in the AAT 60 as well. Starting off, CZE, apologies, earned 36 sniper medals just in the last 2 weeks. TPE Keptep got 68 high caliber medals in just the past 2 weeks. Father Chubbs, 11 steel wall medals, also in the AAT 60 in the past 2 weeks. And lastly here, we have the Red, 45 Confederate medals in the AAT 60, also in the past 2 weeks. Congratulations to you guys. And lastly, to wrap up on our battle feats, huge shout out as usual to those that stuck around and made this amazing threshold of number of battles. First up, we have at the 100,000th battle milestone, Theo Kojak, Slot Tech 59, and Turkika. I probably butchered that name. I do apologize. Turkika. Congratulations to you guys for that 100,000th battle threshold. At 110, we have Legio Mote. And lastly, at the amazing 120,000th battle threshold, Island Man 7. Fantastic. Thank you all. And what is it we say here?
That's a lot of battles. That is a lot of battles. Congratulations to everyone.
Knows it.
And yeah, you'll all be receiving a confidential keycard as mentioned before. So yeah, congratulations to all those wonderful feats. Alrighty.
Oh, actually, that might be an interesting suggestion. Decamp for FTW. Is it possible to maybe separate the World War II and Cold War feats a little bit more? I guess if we can provide some clarity, we can make note of that a little bit further.
Cool. Let's see. Mr. Bam, do you want to do another giveaway?
I think it's time for another giveaway. I do agree.
What are we giving away?
Well, it's here in the background. It's been behind me the entire time. Let's do another fraternity to one lucky winner here. And I think we'll segue ourselves into the Q&As. Let that giveaway link go live, and we'll call out our winner in a little bit.
Sounds good. All right, first question here. Can we please fix the MOEs on the Lehman Russ so they don't look like they're squished alien heads?
Who doesn't want some more squish alien head aesthetics plastered onto their tanks a little bit? Okay, so the Lehman Russ and the Marks of Excellence, unfortunately, just due to the way our Marks of Excellence system kind of works, it's kind of just applied across the spectrum of tanks directly onto the barrels themselves, and we don't often get an opportunity to apply specific changes on a per tank basis. We just don't have the working systems in place that allow for that. All of our MOEs are kind of shared for all the tanks specific to the nation and are adjusted per tank to fit onto the gun barrels. And generally, the gun barrels tend to be very narrow and long, so that just makes them very easy and aesthetically quick to put on there. But the Lehman Russ is just an example based on the model itself because of its shape and exaggeration, and also just how short it is. We don't have much of an option to shift it around. In fact, the visual of what you guys see right now is the best application that we can give for it at this time.
Alrighty, next question here. Would it be possible to add a firing range feature? Basically, what it would do is it'll allow you to select any tank whose armor you'd like to test, and then you select another tank which you want to shoot with, and it'll send you to a random mode or a map where you can, shoot this tank at freely.
So interestingly enough, With the recently debut of the advanced training missions that you guys now have available under the game mode training option, we have been talking about internally including just kind of pick your own tank and go into the firing range, right? If you guys haven't checked out the advanced training already, please give it a shot. It is meant to kind of surface different tank mechanics that you may or may not be aware of. We have a bit of a tutorial section, but it is set up to kind of feel like you're in a firing range at the same time. And early on, we were thinking about having an extra option for players to engage with this mode and just have at it. Fire at a selection of stationary and mobile tanks out there, and maybe even tanks that fire back at you. And I will say that's not off the tables. It is still something that we're talking about, but in terms of priorities, we really wanted to make sure that we are always trying to improve and offer more tutorials and training for players into the game, both new and as well as our experienced players, to make sure we kind of hit all levels of the spectrum. So if we were to implement a firing range that allows you to, target tanks that are out there, it could be set up with, particular armor values that you would be able to test your pen and damage on, but not necessarily even like destroy the tanks. It could just be something to get a gauge of your RNG and how well your alpha output could be, etc. Or if you're, can you fire at certain tanks to understand, how well is your penetration values working out. So something, not making any commitments. We are thinking about it, but don't expect to see any sort of shooting range probably within this year.
Here's a question from chat for you, Mr. Bam.
Yes.
Decamp is asking, are these questions from the submission link?
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess we didn't talk about that a little bit. So I know a lot of questions come in from the Twitch channel, and I do my best to kind of look at that and see what's going on. For some reason, it caught my attention. Plum73S, what's the weather at Windy City? Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that one.
88 and sunny.
So the new format that we do for our Q&As is we now offer you guys a questionnaire to submit your questions. This questionnaire then gets collected by the community team from TK and KB, and then that gets over to us on development side, and we kind of share it amongst development. And our designers, our engineers, artists, UI, we all kind of take a look at that, and people will find questions that might be relevant to their responsibilities, and kind of answer to their best of knowledge. As well as myself, I will kind of dip in to the extent of my knowledge on some of these as well. But more specifically, to answer your question, Dave, these questions are in fact from last week's submitted questions on the questionnaire. If we haven't done so already, if I may ask the community team, let's put that questionnaire link for next week. Again, follow the link, submit your questions, and that will be something that we will try our best to cover for next week's stream.
And then as a follow-up, this is still Decamp's question. How long do this...
It was Decamp, not Dave.
Yeah. How long do the questions stay considered for? And if the question doesn't get to, do they have to keep resubmitting the question?
So if a question is resubmitted, I'll be honest, if we find that it's already something in our backlog, we will omit, or if there's even some extra elaboration that players may have on it, we'll just kind of tack that on to a current existing one. What we try to do our best is we grab questions from last week, very unique questions that might be new or even relevant to ongoing content releases, events, because we want to make sure we talk about those first, because that's what's on the players' minds, because there's new things that go out. And it wouldn't make sense to cover those questions in weeks later when said content is kind of old news at that point. To other questions, we do have a backlog list. And what I will do is, as we kind of collect last week's questions, if we feel like there's not enough to cover or adequately cover the remainder of the stream, I will go into the backlog. I'll populate that into our Q&As and slowly go through those. It's a juggling act, right? I know questions keep coming in. We do get maybe 50 on average. I don't entirely know. The community team is what pick out and put them into the page themselves, they might be able to say how many questions actually get submitted. But from what I can see is about 50 per week. And that's where I grab and put it into something that we make it a little bit more digestible and answer on stream here.
All right. Oh, appreciate the answer, Mr. Ben. On to the other questions. Question here: how long will Nabelberg map be in high frequency for map rotation?
So because that map, brand new map, and that was part of our community op, where the whole community worked together to help unlock Nabelberg into rotation. We worked with our server engineer and the level designer, worked hard to kind of fix the map rotation to increase frequency a lot better. In the past, every time we've released a new map or returning map, we did a little bit of tuning that allows it to appear more in frequency, but we kind of noticed from feedback that it just wasn't appearing as much as players still expected. So just this past release of Nabelberg, there were some extra changes made to how we handle the map rotation, and we were able to increase its frequency in rotation quite a bit, and the data is really telling of that as well. I would be curious by the players if, do you guys like seeing Nabelberg more often into the rotation right now? Does it feel a little bit too much? That is something we can dial back. But to answer the question, how much longer will it be in frequency? Right now, we're probably not going to touch that map rotation change until the start of next season, and then Nabelberg will be on par with the frequency of all other maps.
Next question here: will we see more camo vouchers available through the resolutions program? We had them in the first 2 months, and that was a very awesome reward.
Well, hey, I'm glad players like that and got to enjoy getting some camo vouchers. What I will say is no additional camo vouchers are planned for the next couple of months. The rewards are kind of still in a planning phase in any case. So in the final months of this year, so there's potential for it. That's more on the events team to kind of determine and plan out.
Next question here. I have a very interesting suggestion regarding new and improved playstyle for the Sturmtiger. What if the Sturmtiger played more like an actual mortar, meaning that it has its own unique class tank called motor, basically to TD, but during the game it could change it to sort of our artillery mode with an eagle eye view.
Well, we actually tried this idea in testing, and it just didn't go very well. And in almost all situations, it was more preferable to use the standard sniper cam view, and normal tank behavior was just preferential on that front.
Next question. Can you explain how the stabilizer equipment works? What tank states does it modify or not modify? When does it work or not work? Movement. Only how does it affect the bloom of the shot? There's a lot of questions in here. Does it add or multiply with other stats, and which ones?
Okay, so the gun stabilizer, just as it is displayed and showcased in the game itself, it improves shell accuracy while moving. In this case, moving, this is very specific to referring to turret rotation as well as just your whole vehicle movement, as well as gun rotation. Movement has an effect on all shell accuracy. This can be seen very simply by looking at your dispersion circle on your reticle. Anytime that you're driving or rotating, it jumps around a little bit, right? That is indicative of your accuracy changing. Without getting very specific on a lot of the data and math here, it's the 20% value is effectively means that there is a 20% reduction to the effect that movement has on shell accuracy. And this does stack with a lot of other accuracy modifiers as well. So if you're using any sort of commander skills like steady aim, snapshot, run and gun, and other crew improvements, like if you are using any rations, vents, born leader, all those stack to kind of improve your accuracy while on the move.
Alrighty. Next question is very simple here.
Simple question, complicated answer, maybe.
Let's see. Hi, could you please consider a contract for Artie players? There are players that like to play Artie as their mains. Is there anything in the works for this?
Here's what I will say. I know this one is specific for artillery contract. Yes, we are working on more contract considerations in the future. We will kind of revisit if artillery is something that that players want to engage with and want to have in the game. Right now, it's not currently in the plans, though.
Next question. Any plans for a graphic update, new water effects, or building textures would be appreciated?
Actually, we are planning on adding some real-time reflections into the water itself, some more screen space reflection for a minor improvement on that front. On anything like assets, buildings, textures, that's a bigger uplift. But what I can speak about on that front, we talked about a little bit in the past of, say, how we brought Navelberg into modern armor, right? That was a PC map only that we finally worked out a process for importing into our game. Mind you, a lot of those assets are already shared, like, say, the buildings, trees, rocks. We already have a lot of those assets, and it was a very easy swap in for those. But take the castle asset and some other buildings did get a natural update to the geometry and complexity of those buildings itself because we were able to bring those in from WoT PC. So what I can say is, yes, you can expect select items getting some updated textures and building adjustments as we slowly work this import process pipeline from WoT PC.
Let's see. Next question here. What will we have other variants of the Leclerc instead of just one version of the Leclerc?
Again, happy to hear that players are excited about the Leclerc, our new tech tree line release, and that is just like the top gun of the class there. Stay tuned for an upcoming update. More Leclercs potentially on the way.
Next question here. We'll do a couple more. A few weeks ago, you had a test event on the new community map. How were the results on this event mode, and will we get a full 15v15 battles in it soon for either more data in Cold War or World War II? Keep up the good work.
All right, so a community map question. So I already went over a lot of the data and talked about it to an extent. But no, there will not be another follow-up event for the community map. And no, like I know you were asking if we could do 15v15 battles. The reason we stuck to a 7v7 format was concerns that, again, anytime we include another matchmaker, another game mode option for players, this further divides the different game modes a little bit further, and we wanted to make sure that we can still populate the event mode enough. So 7v7 felt like the natural quantity for the game mode itself. And I know, yeah, it was World War II Tier 6 only for the event mode that we did. With the time that we kind of have left, there won't be a Cold War version of it that we'll be able to test. Like I said, we are now pursuing the next steps, moving the community map into art for their final pass and polish. And very soon we'll have more to share on the progress of the map.
Awesome. All right, let's see here. Will the new control mode or game mode be around to stay after the testing's over? Is it going to be put into a normal rotation, or are we just testing this special mode for now?
I covered this one a little bit as well as we talked, like, I don't know, for a full half hour on all things control mode. So our goal on development side is we wanted to deliver control mode as a limited time event mode that in the future, when we come out of beta, can be more incorporated as in releases during any given season. So you do expect to see control mode coming out much more later down the line. We hope to actually deliver a final release of control mode, again, as event battles, but out of beta later this year. But in terms of answering your question, if it's going to be in normal rotation, again, this is going to be gauging what the player base wants and thinks on this. Is this mode going to be appropriate to put in normal rotation? With the impact that respawn might have, the potential for a lot of high extra damage and extra tank destroys on a given basis, trying to keep in mind, players' average damage standing, their win rates, their progress on their MOEs. These are all things that we have to think about when we consider, should control mode ever be, a permanent mainstay of the game mode rotation. So we can't commit to that. That is something that beta testing will show and see what player feedback says. Never say never. It might become a thing in the future, but what I will say right now, you will not see it in normal rotation this year. This year's plan is just to get it out of beta and help deliver it so you guys can see it more often as limited event mode battles.
All right, 2 more questions here for you. Can you add the TOG to Cold War Era 3? You can just give it copious amounts of buffs.
Let's call it the TOG3.
I like that.
The never before made concept
Right.
of the TOG as a Cold War applicable tank.
Okay.
I like that they even suggested Era 3. Like,
Right.
This tank was barely a World War II tank, and we're like, let's throw it all the way into the final era in Cold War.
It's a World of Tanks exclusive idea, the TOG 3, never before developed. It's twice as long, twice the amount the ammo, twice the amount of health. I like it.
KB, can we make it a pink TOG?
Give it lasers, yeah, why not?
Tell you what, I will follow up and we'll think about it. It's funny,
All right.
but I don't. Maybe as a funny event thing that we do in the future. Right? Who remembers our TOG boat mode? Maybe we do a TOG Era 3 Cold War April Fool's mode or something.
Something to think about.
Something to think about.
All right, last question here.
Last question.
Can we have WG staff added as commanders? For example, T-Kane added as a commander, maybe Mr. Tankz0rz, maybe Mr. Bam, who knows? A small appreciation for the efforts that go into getting the game up and running, and the community words listened to.
Most likely no. I know we did staff as commanders in the past. This was part of our bigger mercenary event. No, I'm sorry, not event. Release of the game. But 2D or 3D commanders, yes, it's possible, but from my perspective, I don't think it's something that we will really follow up on. But more conversation that we'll need to have with our publishing and production team if it's something we want to do. Again, I'm coming from my perspective. I personally don't want to be put in the game. I don't know if I want to appear on the MVP screen. T-Kane might feel differently about it, maybe. But Tankz0rz, maybe you might want to be a 3D commander.
Sure, why not? All right. One last question here.
One last question. Real quick, I wanted to point this one out because I saw this one asked a few times last week.
This is my last question right here.
Yeah.
I
wanted to make sure we cover this one. Can
we get the Jamaican and Lebanese flags put into the flag selection so we could fly them?
Okay. This one I did want to make sure we called out and talked about because I saw this actually quite a few times in the question submissions. What I will point out, in our last season, we added 3 new flag emblems into the flag section, which did include Jamaica, Lebanon, as well as Macedonia. But this is more or less asking to turn them into 3D flags, of course, that you can actually mount onto your tank. Emblems, great, sure. But the request is having it as an actual waving flag that sits on top of your tank. What I will say is I do have a ticket. We'll talk with our UI team and see about getting this into the game into the near future. Yes.
Cool. Sounds good. And it looks like we still have a giveaway here pending.
All right, who's our lucky winner? Fraternity.
Our lucky winner is Sinkable New 891. Congratulations, Sinkable. You are our lucky winner.
Fantastic. Congratulations. All right, everybody. Well, this was a fantastic stream. I know we went a little bit over. I think we were also we started a little bit late. You blame me. That's not a Tankz0rz fault on that front. I was very rapidly getting data put together so I can share to everybody some of our control mode findings. Hopefully that was insightful. Hopefully that was fun. And yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for hanging out with us. Appreciate seeing all your lovely faces. Have a fantastic weekend. And if you're on Twitch, stick around. We'll go raid one of our community contributors. Like I said, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you in the battlefield. Roll out.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.